Fifth graders are forced to praise Black Lives Matter and celebrate cop killer Angela Davis in their classrooms. Nice. Maybe by seventh grade they'll learn how to kill a man with an ice pick, just like how Stalin took out Trotsky. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is the Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness of back to K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we start in Pennsylvania, home of voter fraud, where one of the worst performing schools in the state forced fifth graders to honor Marxist Angela Davis by acting out a Black Power rally in class. Little kids marching around, singing communist anthems, celebrating a murderous radical from the past. And I want to preface this story by saying, when you see the word revolutionary used, revolutionary, anti-racist, what you're talking about here very often is criminality, right? Revolution, as these people are spouting it, is the undermining of free elections, is the undermining our system of government. It is, believe it or not, insurrection. And what used to be treated by, arrests and legal prosecutions now is celebrated in our public schools that are being run by full-out anti-American communist sympathizers like what you're going to see in this segment.
And this is just one example of the many we always have across the nation. And this one specifically coming out of a Philadelphia elementary school, where, of course, they are one of the worst performing schools in all of Pennsylvania and potentially all of the whole United States. And we have the investigator, Christopher Rufo, who we've talked about before, and he's doing some great work kind of exposing, being a whistleblower to all these school activities that have nothing to do with education. And so he actually was able to get some documents and spoke with a source within the William D. Kelly School, where a fifth grade teacher designed a social studies curriculum to celebrate the political radical Angela Davis. If you know anything about Angela Davis, just look at her picture. There she is, left and right.
How very Mod Squad.
She is very Mod Squad. And the squad of the FBI wanted her. So there's that. And this teacher, fifth grader, remember, again, 11-year-olds, 10, 11-year-olds are the ones who are supposed to celebrate Angela Davis.
What allows this teacher to just create her own curriculum on glorifying communism?
This is what happens.
This is what they do.
Also, they praise the black communist, Angela Davis, for her fight against injustice and inequality.
By breaking federal law, engaging in murder. What a hero. What a hero.
Anyway, so that's the social studies curriculum. And Rufo, he goes onto Twitter and basically exposes all this stuff. And as you saw, he reported in that Twitter thread that after asking students to describe Davis's early life and her vision of social change, again, murder, the teacher then led them to the school auditorium. So come on, little fifth graders, let's go on a little field trip all the way to the auditorium. And then they simulated a Black Power rally to free Angela Davis from prison.
Yeah, so you're teaching fifth graders how to raise the fist to march about political issues they have no idea about. And, Angela Davis's vision, I wish she were a little bit more like Stevie Nicks and kept her visions to herself. These are visions of communist bloodshed. We've got a video clip. And before we do this, I want to second really quickly what Katie said. Chris Rufo is doing fabulous work here. This is his reporting. He's the one bringing these stories to light. We consider ourselves fortunate to be able to share this with you. But boy, he's quickly becoming the James O'Keefe of education exposure. We need more people like him there. But if you want to be completely galled by this, take a look at this video clip.
From the genocide of indigenous people to the enslaving of African people that history lives on today. And we see it in the ways that our school education system is still deeply segregated, with schools that are predominantly black and brown receiving less resources. We see the teaching staff in Philadelphia and across the country becoming whiter. We see black and brown students more heavily criminalized at school. We also see black and brown students walking into schools with asbestos, asthma triggers, dangerous temperatures, and other unsafe learning conditions. And I believe that if we're not actively addressing white supremacy, then the norm is to perpetuate it. This is part of why we must have anti-racist training for all staff who work in schools. Because I believe that all teachers want what is best for their students, but manifestations of white supremacy often go unnoticed.
She's literally saying all that guff in front of a Black Panther revolutionary poster that says you can jail the revolutionary, but you can't jail the revolution. Literally. All she needed was Che Guevara shooting a homosexual in the Cuban killing fields that he set up for Castro to make this perfect, right? You could have borrowed the big picture of Che that Obama used to have in his office in Chicago. And I can do exactly what she just said. Let's just do exactly what she said about history. History, right? If we continue to perpetuate Black Panther murderists, if we can continue to allow communism to become the justification for killing police officers, we're going to end up with a culture that reifies this kind of violence. When too many white teachers are in Philadelphia schools because blacks aren't interested in teaching. They're not selfless enough to go into careers like teaching. When we look around to see how Black and Hispanic kids lag behind, and we realize that they're getting no support at home, that there are no fathers in the family. You could do exactly what she just did and actually put a little bit of responsibility in this country of opportunity for minority peoples to actually take advantage of the huge set-asides, the huge money dedicated, the affirmative action programs, all the illegal ways we preference you based on skin color now, the way that colleges are salivating over you. If you're African American and have a pulse, they want you in their university. They will find a way to bring you there. There has never been more literally race-based unconstitutional programs simply to reward you for not being white. And we could sit here and talk just like she did in that smug little way. This kind of behavior propagates it, right? If with all of these opportunities, all of these set-asides, all of this entitlement that goes to being 200 years removed from a culture that had slavery, and you can't be bothered to pick up all that gift that you've been given and walk with it, maybe it's your fault. It would be very easy to say what I just said.
And as a point of perspective, I said this school and basically all of Philadelphia is one of the worst in the whole nation. The school district of Philadelphia has 18,000 employees. Their budget is about $3.4 billion a year. And do you want to know what their kids' reading levels are at?
Yeah, what?
Not good.
Not good.
So, there they are. As you can see, we were talking about fifth grade specifically, so we'll just jump to there. Grade 5, 10% of them have achieved basic
10
literacy.
But they all know how
10.
to march like Nazis and communists.
But just so everyone's aware, well, yes, they do know how to that, but that's like they get a good gym grade, so I guess. The state average for Pennsylvania is 6.0 in English, 60%. They have 10% in the fifth grade. So maybe we spend a little less time marching to the auditorium, a little bit more time learning how to read what it actually says on those signs that they held up.
And what this clown show woman we just showed you is asking for mandatory anti-racism training. No, that's not what you need. Anti-racist training is all about glorifying cop killers like Angela Davis. You need more hooked on phonics, honey. That's what you need. And this is the problem. And why is it that the more the minority dominates the school district, the less well they perform, in spite of the money. So you're saying they're not getting enough money? What are they doing with the money they get? They're not spending it on actual learning objectives.
Well, the insanity continues all across this great nation because of COVID, and especially on the college campuses where they're just getting silly now with their demands for what students can and more so can't do. We head to the University of California, Berkeley, where they actually had banned the allowance of you wanting to be healthy, essentially, because you were not allowed to go outside by yourself and exercise.
Yeah, California, Berkeley bans
go outside,
solitary outside exercise.
And exercise, because in the name of COVID.
So stay in your crowded dorm buildings. Stay in buildings where you've got 3 and 4 undergraduates to the same suite, where you've got halls cram-packed with 2 or 3 bathrooms for 40, 50 people, where the showers, you got 3 or 4 showers for an entire floor of people. Stay in there because that's COVID-free. Or like maybe Andrew Cuomo might say, let's just keep all the sick people nice and insulated, but don't let people out into the great wide open by themselves. By themselves. Don't let them be in acres of empty space, because you're beginning to wonder if these idiots believe that maybe these sick college kids are going to infect Mother Nature. Are they beginning? Is this? Because I can't think of another answer for this. Are they beginning to believe that all of these sick human beings are going to literally pollute nature, not just with pollution and what we've seen before, overconsumption, but maybe COVID can be transferred from individuals to plants? Is that what they? Unless they're worried about that, I can't think of a single reason why they would do this.
Well, they claim that they did this whole lockdown and self-sequestering, as they're calling it in the dorms. There was a spike in cases. Now, what that spike is, we also don't know. But they sent out an email saying that due to the 14-day incubation period of this virus, which we don't even know if it's 14 days, 10 days, it keeps changing, things change. It's too early to be sure we have contained this current surge. We understand this extension is frustrating, but please understand this will help us mitigate further spread while protecting our community.
Well, this spike came when the kids were on campus and in the dorms. So in other words, we've kept you on campus, we've locked you in dorms, we've forced you to be sequestered, and it's spiked. So now we're gonna fix that by not letting you out on your own, away from everybody else.
Yeah, so what they had, this 14-day period, which I'll get to the update in a moment, but during this 14-day period, for those who live on campus, basically in the dorms, the lockdown measures included students must stay in their room except in case of emergency or to obtain medical care, comply with testing requirements, or receive food from the Cal dining kiosks. Now, their testing requirements include twice per week, getting tested. It was added that unlike the previous self-sequester, because this has been done many a time, students are now unable to leave their room for solo outdoor exercise.
So it's not a self-sequester, it's a sequester. You're not self-doing anything. Your asses are being locked up.
They say campus is working with the city of Berkeley to determine whether outdoor exercise is permitted.
Be unlocked. Right? We are working with the city of Berkeley, who complicit in locking kids in their dorms like prisoners, and we will decide then you are free to go outside.
That is correct.
This is why Colonel Hogan had to build the tunnel out of Stalag 13, because they were self-sequestered in a POW camp.
It's
and the
true.
only way out is to tunnel. Maybe that's what we need. We need a whole tunneling system underneath UC Berkeley.
Well,
although the minute we built it, illegal aliens would take it over. So
that's a good point. But this is probably necessary because police officers will also be monitoring dormitory hallways and checking IDs. But if the illegal immigrants are there, are they going to have IDs?
How much you want to bet the cops monitoring the self-sequester have guns? How much you want to bet?
Ooh, that's a good thing. Also,
bet you billions and billions.
They did want to let all you students know that counseling and psychological services are available for virtual counseling.
But, however, you're not allowed to leave the building to go get it.
It's virtual.
Right, yes.
We're doing the virtual.
Yeah.
But hey, good news, everyone. Good news, great news. They've lifted this self-sequester mandate. Self-sequester mandate. Does
that mean now that it's mandatory sequester instead of self? Or did they just let them out of the rooms?
We'll never know. This ban was lifted, they say, due to the downward trend of cases at Berkeley. Again, we don't know what that actually means. They just kind of put it out. In their email, they said, we realize that the last 2 weeks have been a challenging time for everyone involved, and we truly appreciate you doing your part to mitigate the surge of infections. Your sacrifices have made a huge difference.
You can't appreciate something you gave them no choice over. Why are you thanking them for that which they had no choice but to do? Yes. This is such Soviet language, right?
And then
thank you for taking a bullet in the skull for the Communist Party. We're grateful for you, and we will make sure that your family is starved to death to reward you.
And they also reminded students, by the way, please continue to twice a week be tested.
Swabbed.
For. It says actually at least twice a week. So at least twice. Maybe, it's like, take it like your Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. You go to your English class, then you go get swabbed. Yeah. And it is a requirement for those who actually are in the dorms. It's the ones who live off campus that, please, could you also 3 times a week get tested? Because they just want to have another lockdown, essentially. I guess another excuse to have this lockdown.
Are you glad to see me, or is that a swab in your pocket?
No. We know everything's racist. Just say a word, somehow it's racist. The item's racist.
Black people.
Racist. So in San Francisco, naturally, acronyms are going to be racist.
Oh, of course they are.
So the San Francisco School District.
So the NAACP is racist.
Racist. Well, it should be. ACLU. SPLC. Anywho, according
CCCP.
to the San Francisco School Board, again, acronyms, racist. And then they've decided that it's a sign of white supremacy if you use such acronyms. And this is specifically for the visual and performing arts, like department, VAPA. Okay, VAPA was used to signify the arts department for San Francisco School District. It's racist. So says Sam Bass.
Schools have yet to reopen in San Francisco, but their arts department has continued to work towards ensuring that all students have access to quality arts education. The director of that department said, "We are prioritizing anti-racist arts instruction in our work." So they got rid of the acronym VAPA, which is short for Visual and Performing Arts. From now on, they'll simply be called SFUSD Arts Department.
It is a very simple step we can take to just be referred to as the SFUSD Arts Department for families to better understand who we are.
In a memo, he explains that acronyms are a symptom of white supremacy culture.
The use of so many acronyms within the educational field oftentimes tends to alienate those who maybe don't speak English to understand those acronyms.
That's based on a 1999 paper written by author Tema Okun titled White Supremacy Culture. Okun told me that our culture perpetuates racism when things continue to be written down in a certain way.
Yet the San Francisco Unified School District uses so many acronyms on a daily basis that if you go to their website, there's a section that tells you how to find out what their acronyms or abbreviations mean.
So much lose here. So in the first place, acronyms are bad, and then we're not going to be known as VAPA anymore. We're going to be known as SFSEU or whatever it is.
SFUSD, San Francisco Unified School District.
But my point is that it just exchanged one acronym for another.
Duh.
Right. So acronyms are bad. We're going to get rid of VAPA, and we're going to give you the acronym for our school. Number one. Number two, did you hear the way that opened? That even though we're on lockdown, California, San Francisco schools are committed to bringing quality art education to kids. And what is the quality art education? Racism. Seriously. When we were assured by the reporter that in this time of crisis, that San Francisco schools are committed to bringing quality art instruction to the schools from their homes. And what do they talk about for the next 20 minutes? Racism. Acronyms. What does that have to do with art education? Please explain to me how deracifying acronyms has anything to do with quality art education. The epic fail of this is shocking.
I don't know. I guess back in my day when it was art class, we painted with all the colors of the wind, as Pocahontas once said. So I don't understand how just they're using white to be racist. Maybe that's the one color they're not allowed to paint with, these kids, if they ever get back to school to know it. But let's just be honest. It's San Francisco, and they've been busy over in San Francisco doing a lot of things to fight racism, including renaming 44 different school buildings because racism. And who are these said racists? Well, George Washington, naturally, and Thomas Jefferson, Abe Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt even made his way on there. John Muir, Paul Revere, and Dianne Feinstein. Wait, what?
Also,
yes,
so all men, basically.
No, not Dianne. Dianne is.
You missed the joke. Thanks.
It's not a joke.
It was very funny. I thought. Very
dry.
dry.
Well, it's time for some real education, and if we're going to talk about racist acronyms, we're going to continue our week on G.K. Chesterton, which means Gilbert Keith Chesterton, who is an English philosopher, theologian, art critic, and a preeminent Christian apologist. We've been talking about G.K. Chesterton and all that he has offered in his writing and talking about Christianity. especially with his Catholicism. Dr. Duke, take it away.
Welcome to Chesterton Week. One of those guys whose impact is so profound. He's quoted almost every day, and most people don't even know they're quoting him. A great Christian apologist of the 20th century. I'd like to share with you some of these quotes. So let's take a look at the one for today from Chesterton. The whole modern world has divided itself into conservatives and progressives. This is the 1920s. The whole modern world has divided itself into conservatives and progressives. The business of progressives is to go on making mistakes. The business of conservatives is to prevent mistakes from being corrected. Is that not just something you want to tattoo in a visible place? The purpose of progressives is to keep screwing everything else. The business of conservatives, when they get power, is not to fix a damn thing. Even when the revolutionists might himself repent of his revolution, the traditionalist is already defending it as part of his tradition. So when radical left wings stage an insurrection, conservatives are already defending that lie. Thus, we have two great types, Chesterton writes. The advanced person who rushes us into ruin, that's the progressive, and the retrospective person, idiot, who admires the ruins. That's a conservative in today's culture. He admires them, especially by moonlight, not to say moonshine. Each new blunder of the progressive or prig becomes instantly a legend of immemorial antiquity to the snob. This is called the balance or mutual check in our Constitution. I want to repeat that. The purpose of progressivism is to ruin the world. The purpose of conservatives is to find ways to justify that stupid behavior without correcting it. If I've never heard a better description of liberals and progressives, Democrats and Republicans, Chesterton just nailed it.
All right, if you're a fan of the show, please consider a one-time tax-deductible donation to support the Patriot Club to keep this show going. And as a thank you, we're going to send you a signature tumbler. It's so pretty. All you have to do to sign up is visit patriotclub.us. That's patriotclub.us. And just a quick reminder to please download our brand new Freedom Project Media app. All you have to do is use the camera on your smart device to take a picture of one of the QR codes that is right for you. You'll get access to 15 new shows a week, plus our library of content that includes in-depth interviews, lecture series, educational animations, and just so much more. All you have to do is download the Freedom Project app in your app store and make sure you allow for notifications.
Look, never forget what Mark Twain said. Politicians should be changed as often as diapers, and for exactly the same reason. And that's going to do it for this show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, don't be a pant load, my friends.